I'm Charlotte Smith from At Charlotte's House. Welcome to my handmade home. When I first looked at this house with my agent, I didn't get that warm, fuzzy, this is your forever home feeling. There was not really anything about this house that I loved, and we kept looking, and my agent, who is also a dear friend, finally came back and she said, I think we need to just reframe this. I think you need to consider what your skill set is, and your skill set is taking not very colorful, maybe kind of plain spaces and making them fun and energetic and personal. So why don't we look at the house again and see what you can do to it? I am a full-time content creator, and what that means is that every space is always up for grabs. So when I first walked through this house, I had a real long list, and it's been sort of a fun project for me to work on both professionally and personally. For me, my job is just a series of projects that I try to share and teach to my audience on both my blog and social media. I started doing things around the house, and it was really exciting for me to show other women that they could do what they wanted in their own home. They didn't need to be limited by budget or skills, that there was really a way to tackle any project, no matter how big and no matter how small. So that's kind of been my driving force. But personally, my job gives me so much joy. I get to wake up every morning and figure out ways to make my house more fun. I get to learn new projects. So it has sort of been a win-win career choice, if you will. This is my foyer. This is the first space you see when you come in the house, and as you can tell, it's so small. So the first thing I wanted to do was just to go big. There's a lot of pattern. There's no rhyme or reason to the pattern. I probably shouldn't admit to that, but I really liked the wallpaper. I wanted something big and kind of floral. I really love the runner. Do they match? Probably not. Do I care? Definitely not. And then the rest was just trying to maximize the space. So I wanted to bring in a really fun light fixture up top. This little foyer table, this was originally just an IKEA RAS dresser, so it was so simple, and it was honestly the only thing that would fit this tiny diminutive space. So I went ahead and I added this flexible trim, which I had never heard of, but I am now officially team flexible trim. I added some handles, I added some acrylic legs, and then I painted it a color that I had to kind of custom match to pull from the wallpaper. I love little spaces because you can sort of flex your muscle and anything goes, at least that's my philosophy. Let's get this on camera because this is what it's like to live with 5 children. You're welcome. I did paint the railing. I know that this is sort of a controversial decision, but there was nothing special about this railing. This was basically a builder grade railing, and so instead of having a color that I didn't love, I thought, I don't know, YOLO, do we still say that? You only live once. So I painted it to match the wallpaper. And then moving through, this is just a beautiful wall hanging that I found at the flea market. I love that it brings in a little bit of natural texture. I think artwork would have competed with the wallpaper, so this is sort of a neutral, but there's still a lot to it, which I love. And then if you walk through, this is my kitchen. We spend the most time in our kitchen, which I think is probably pretty typical of a family, and the kitchen can certainly take the most budget out of us, and we didn't have the budget. So my favorite thing in this kitchen is probably just the green cabinets. Green is having a real moment, but I also love green. I use it a lot in my house. Other things that I have done, I did go ahead and add my own backsplash. I really love these sort of green tiles. They all have a slightly different handmade feel to them. So I think that brings the green around. My kids sit around this island all the time. This counter is never this clear. Don't be thinking this is how we live, but this is really where we spend our time. So the kids will be here doing homework. I will be set up with my laptop. So this space, I would say, is a pretty successful makeover with a limited budget. The sunroom, if I'm being honest, was one of the prettiest spaces in the house when I first saw it, but I didn't love a lot of the features. And so again, my solution to camouflage some of those kind of harder things to fix was just to bring in a lot of color. So these are very basic IKEA rugs. I stacked a bunch of them so that it would fit this sort of awkward shape. So there is a lot of seating in here, which may look a little funny, but we have a lot of people, so these chairs get used. This round table I found at the Restore, and it just needed a little love. I didn't do much to it, but I did refinish it. I found some colorful chairs. If there was ever a chair that fit my personality, these would be it. I love these chairs. What else can I show you in here? I love showing my house. This is so fun. This is my dining room, and we use it. You know how a lot of dining rooms you never use? We use it because we fit in here really nicely. So this is a really fun celebratory place. This was maybe the second space that I did in this house. I fell in love with this chinoiserie wallpaper. So I installed this myself. I've gotten pretty good at wallpaper over the years, which is definitely something I can flex my muscle with. And then this is sort of a space where I'm just highlighting some of my favorite things, which is honestly a lot of how my decorating works. I find something fun and I use it. So these sconces I found at a flea market, I think they're meant to have a candle. They don't, they're just there. This is a painting I got from my grandmother. I love it. I get asked about it all the time. Obviously that needed to have a prominent spot. And then other things are flea market or thrifted. If I find something sort of quirky and funky, I'm gonna find a space for it. And it doesn't have to make any sense, but that's where it's gonna live. This is my globe collection, and it started with any collection. I'm stating the obvious with one. I think I really liked one of these from the flea market, but I didn't know what to do with it. So every time I went to the flea market, if I saw another one, I picked it up, and now I have many, many globes. And I've always thought they look really fun when they're displayed all together because one item is cheesy, but many items is a collection. We are in my living room, which is, I can't say my favorite room, but it's one of my favorite rooms just because it has so much color and things to look at, which I think we've already established is sort of how I decorate. When we had to move into this house, I sat down and I tried to get excited about some of the spaces. And this room was the first room that sort of came to me in my mind. I had this idea of doing a lot of color, big. I knew I had a big green couch that has always been just a favorite element in a room. If you have a big green couch, come on, you have to lean into it and bring in color and pattern everywhere else. And then I had this idea for doing a really fun gallery wall, and we call it My Ladies. So it's all just really colorful pictures. I've now incorporated some family portraits. So this wall is ever growing. I made this coffee table. This was my attempt at, there's sort of an anthropology version that has black and white stripes and it has that sort of waterfall line. So I thought, why not try it? And is it a lot? It is, but I love it. This rug was one of the first things I ever bought when I owned a home. This was from a local outlet, so nobody can get it again. I'm sorry to everyone who asks. And I use all the colors to just sort of inform the space. This dresser was $40. This was covered in white paint, and I bought it because I had to show the process of stripping paint. And when I stripped it, this is what I found underneath, and I just die a little bit inside when I think about the person who decided to paint over this. Here's where the internet is real salty with me. Come in close, because you'll notice I didn't bother to strip the side of it. But you know what I tell them? I don't leave the doors open, so you don't see it. How pretty is that? This is my sheep. Why do you have a sheep, Charlotte? I have no explanation. I just wanted to make one. These sort of sheeps have popped up in fancy design places, but the price tag is not for me. So I just figured out a way to make it. And this is an old rug that I had kicking around. And this sheep is one of my favorites. So here's my sheep. So this room is really the itch that I get to scratch. I can bring things in, I can do what I want in here, and for the most part, the kids stay out of it, so it stays neat, which I love. These side tables were something else that I got when my grandmother passed away. These were in her bedroom, and towards the end of her life, we spent a lot of time in her bedroom. So I love that these are here, and now every time we're in here, I think about her, and oh, I haven't opened this. This was from her. I'm being told that's very authentic. I had never saw that. It's like a little sewing thing. So apparently there's a few things from my grandmother in here. Oh my God, look at that! Okay, so now, this is now a little bit of the decor. So that's gonna live right there. And that is how you design. Okay, we're gonna go upstairs because I'm gonna show you our bedroom, my kids' bedroom, so come on up. This is our primary bedroom. And it's so big. It's so big. And I could see that for a lot of folks, you would think, oh my gosh, a giant cavernous bedroom, that's great. For me, it just felt too big. Like, what am I doing with all this space? So my biggest challenge for this space was how could I furnish it to kind of close it in a little and make it feel a little bit more intimate. We have a king size bed, so that helps. But I think the biggest thing that I did in here was actually creating this, I put it in quotes, this built-in. So this started as 2 pieces that I found at the Restore, but they were dated. They had sort of glass doors and I didn't love the front. So I added sort of a shaker molding to the front. I painted it to match the wall color. I put a desk in the middle, and it is not obviously a built-in, but it does fill the space. It gives us some storage, and I think it solves the problem of creating a little less space in here. And then if we move along over here, this little chaise lounge, you can look that up. I don't know how you pronounce it. I got this on Facebook Marketplace, and this is the original. I didn't do anything to it. I made this cute diptych to go over it. I got the prints just like this, and then I created the frames. We're gonna talk about the rugs because in big spaces, finding a rug that is gonna fit is sometimes a big issue, and it can be a big price point. These are 2 very budget-friendly rugs that I think I got just at a big box store, and I just have 2 side by side. I made sure that I picked a pattern that would sort of flow together nicely. Obviously, you can see the seam, but it's not the first thing you see when you walk in the room. And then I just layered some smaller throw rugs. This might all get rearranged, but for now, it just helps anchor this other layout. So this giant room now has a few sort of areas. There's a sleeping area, and the area we're gonna pretend to work at, and the area we're gonna pretend to read at. And it just helps to shrink the space a little bit, which was my goal. With 5 kids, we only have 4 bedrooms, so 2 children are sharing, much to their chagrin. So the first bedroom that I really tackled was the shared bedroom, and that's the one where I built a beautiful bunk bed, and I wallpapered, and I tried to listen to what my kids wanted. And then I just finished a bedroom that is sort of shared, but it's sort of this funny hybrid. My oldest daughter is now away for high school at a boarding school, so she doesn't stay here all the time. So my middle daughter has taken the opportunity to move right on in. So what did we do in here? Kind of everything. The girls both agreed that the bed worked best here, which would not be my choice, but it's not my room. And then they wanted a couch, they wanted a desk, and just figuring that out was easier said than done. So we painted everything. And when we say we, you guys know I mean me, right? Okay. I recovered a headboard that I had already made. I recovered that with sort of a neutral rose pink. So that rose is kind of the accent color. And then I brought in bedding that both girls agreed upon. Again, that is a miracle of miracles. This is a painting that my great-grandmother painted. My daughter noticed that the windows looked kind of naked. She said, I love curtains or something, but because there's furniture in front of all the windows, curtains weren't the best choice. And so this was a way of bringing a little bit of interest to the windows without going crazy. So I was able to build this out of inexpensive, I don't know, 1/2-inch plywood. Some people even use foam core, so it can be really budget. And then I upholstered it. I glued this ribbon on just to bring in the pink. And I think this is a really fun detail that successfully added a little bit of interest to the windows without overpowering the space and making me crazy because it was too much work. A lot of the stuff for the house that I make happens in my office, so let's go look at that. This used to be the dreariest concrete space. This back wall was just these shabby built-ins, and now this is kind of the colorful, crafty space of my dreams. But a couple things that we did in here. I had a professional group of drywallers come and frame and drywall. I am handy, I am not that handy. So once that was set, I came in and I was able to spray all the walls, I framed out the windows, I painted the floor. If you can't paint a floor in your office a bright, colorful blue, I don't know where you can. So that was a really fun start. And then behind me, I obviously wanted to have just a whole wall to store everything from photo styling props, which is basically a code word for stuff that I've bought and I don't want to get rid of. I bought budget-friendly base cabinets, and then I put budget-friendly butcher block on top. I built these shelves. Did I do it right? Not quite. There's a few places that weren't perfect, but this was my first attempt at shelves. And so this is one of those times when I tell people, you gotta just try it, you're gonna learn. Next time I built shelves, they're gonna be better. And these look fine, and for my office, they're great. My sort of unofficial tagline is just try it, because from every mistake, you learn something new. And if you think that anyone is learning anything without making mistakes, you're crazy. That's just not how it works. So I don't share all my mistakes, but I do try to share the ones that have informed my learning, because that's just part of it. I don't turn this on nearly enough because pink neon is completely underrated. It's super fun, but that's where it lives. For me, being an influencer is not about, sharing my outfits or sharing my makeup. It's more about encouraging and cheering people on to sort of think that first question of, can I do this? Because for me, that's where it all started. It was a toilet that I broke trying to change the toilet seat, and I thought, heck, I have to call a plumber either way. So is this something I can do? And I think that philosophy has sort of been present on my social media, on my website ever since. And I think there's a lot of women, particularly my age, who wasn't sort of on their radar that women or homeowners could do these things. And so I want the first question to always be, could I do this on my own? And, I'm here to say, yeah, you can. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Handmade for more videos just like this.